Guys, welcome to the 4th of July edition of the my stream for the Routemaster. Sorry, a little bit frazzled. I actually decided about 20 minutes ago, talking to my wife, that it was going to be at 3:30 rather than 5 because she was planning on having dinner ready at 5. So we're going to do dinner at 6, and I'm going to do the stream a little bit earlier than I was going to initially. So let me go over to the comments, see who's here. GB, hey, welcome. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, it was interesting. I threw together this stream, only thing I had to really do was record a new intro because it has a different number on it. But put together the stream in about 20 minutes, so I can actually do that. I'm kind of impressed with that. So let me switch cameras, and we'll talk about where we're starting and where we're headed. Hey, Donnie, welcome. So yesterday, I worked on the rear end of the Routemaster. Stopped here. I've got the front end here as well, although it is upside right. This is upside down. Got the front end here as well because that is coming shortly, I'm sure. And the bus is about actually to outgrow the window because right now I've got a window from here to here. It's about, let's call it 15 inches. Yeah, and I figured you'd appreciate that, GB. I may start trying to do them in at 4 o'clock Central, unless it interferes with too many people here on this side of the ocean. I will probably by about September start doing the a Sunday afternoon stream regularly because I thought it was kind of cool. Had a lot of people that usually can't make it on the stream yesterday. Was really a lot of fun. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Sorry, guys. So let me open this first bag here. This is literally where we left off yesterday afternoon. Let me toss the chat up. GB said, hey. Donnie said, hey, Buck. Then he said, hey to GB. So 3:30 in the afternoon, so you're 6 hours after me. I will continue to try and figure out how to do these a little bit more conducive to everybody. It's kind of hard when you got people around the world watching, because I literally do. I've got folks in the Far East, I believe. I don't know whether it's Japan or China, because I don't speak either. But I see the comments, and I see the names. So, and I've got people in Europe. I've got people all over the United States. And GB said, hey to Donnie. So it's interesting trying to cater to all my viewers at the same time. Okay, so key parts supplied. I did this yesterday. I need to shrink down the screen again so that I can actually see what they are. So we got the suspension arm. Let's see, we got, okay, suspension arm bar, and these are shock absorber columns, and then there's FM screws. So let me get out the screwdrivers. By the way, if you guys were on HTM last night, Todd did some work on his Enterprise. It was really cool. He was on actually for about 3 hours. And he had, I think he said the guy's name was Francisco. He had a guy there helping him. Watching that, it was really kind of cool to see him have a second person there because he was able to go a lot faster than I am because I don't have a second person grabbing, handing me screws, things like that. So this will go on here like this. And there are, interesting, so there's a flat spot on each of these, on both ends. But there's not a flat spot on the suspension here. These are FM screws, so it means that they are metal. And I've got the bottle of oil handy. Started doing that yesterday. What I'm doing, since they are metal screws, yeah, it was a really, really cool stream that Todd did yesterday. Oh, never mind. Okay. I was looking at this side, and these parts are rounded. These parts have the flat spot. And welcome, Eric. Like I said on Discord, I put this stream together in about 20 minutes because I wasn't streaming until 5, and now I'm streaming now. So GB said hey to Eric. Eric is at Super Slide. Will watch till his phone is dead. It's at 18%. For some reason, Eric never charges his phone. His phone is always dying on him. Get this first screw in here. Eric said hey to everybody. Screws in there lightly right now. Let me tighten it down. And I do have to say, using the oil on the screws going into metal is working fantastically. Okay, that is in there tight, good and solid. Eric is admitting the truth that I think he records his phone, he charges his phone out overnight, and then he just doesn't think about it during the day. My phone, a lot of times, runs down during the day, and so I have various places that I can charge it, and I do charge it whenever it gets down past about 3/4 of the battery, I charge it. Hey, Todd, welcome. Was just talking about your stream last night, and I understand that you're in the shop right now working on the Enterprise again. Very cool. You're doing a lot more to your Enterprise than I am to mine. Hang on, let me see if I can do something about this because I keep going out of frame on the camera. Now, actually, I might be able to keep the bus completely in frame as I build it. Okay, got both of those in there and tight. I probably am going to look at this and go, I should have done this yesterday. Indeed, I should have. Because that is actually all there is to this stage. I could have done this easily yesterday. I should have done it yesterday. It's okay. So I'm looking at the book, and it's showing a whole bunch of stuff that I've been doing. So let me move these out of the way because these parts that I'm about to bring over are huge. This is true. We have determined that Todd's shop, or Marvel Phoenix, is not a shop. It is a laboratory, or a laboratory. Todd says it's a lab. I think it's a laboratory so that Todd can be Dexter. So let me get this out. Might need to change my scalpel blade soon. It is a little dull. So I've got some LM screws, some OM screws, small plate there, 2 springs, and a huge part to the bus. We just dropped those screws on the floor that came out of here. Nothing left in the bag. We got the screws. Let me see. OM, FM. Hang on. Oh, there we are. Some GM screws. Donnie wants me to work on my Enterprise. I'm kind of burnt out on the Enterprise, and I've told Donnie that. Donnie doesn't care. Eric's laughing about Donnie, and Todd is now heading into the lab to watch on his, or is watching on his iPad. So what we've got here is the rear frame, or rear chassis frame, the 2 suspension springs, limiting pads, 2 of them, and several screws. So the first thing, take the chassis frame and put the 2 springs in here and here. Actually, the first thing I should do but I did work on it first. I worked on it for about 2 months straight, Donnie. That's what burnt me out on it. It'll come back. Those windows were a true pain in the behind. Really, I like the way they look, but they're tedious. Like I said, the Enterprise will come back to the channel. It is not gone. It's just on hiatus. Plus, right now, Enterprise parts are not coming in. I'm fickle. Exactly. I tend to, if I get to a spot on a model that is irritating me, I will move on to something else, but I will come back to it later. Eric laughed at his own joke, and Todd is back. So I've reached the point that I really, really, really do need to get a bigger screw box, because I'm now all the way across on the screws on both sides. So I'm either going to start keeping them in bags in the center or getting another screw box. So open the oil back up. So I put the 2 springs in, and then on top of these springs, let's see, it's got these tabs here towards the back. On top of the springs is where that goes, where the what was it called? Suspension spring. Take chassis frame, suspension spring, place the springs and sockets, lower the shock absorber columns. Okay. These are managing. And it says might be easier. I'm all about easy. If I tape the suspension bar to the chassis until the screws are in. All right, Eric, understand. Have a great time where, you know, with the kids and the family, and we will talk to you later. So now turn this over, and actually it's going to stay pretty well just sitting there. Turn this over, get this part poking through so that both sides are poking through like that. And you can see, you can see a little bit on here, not so much on this one because it's almost straight down, but it's the posts are actually pushing through. Johnny said farewell to Eric. And so 2 OM screws. These OM screws have a flange on them. You can see there, the flange. Take them, dip them in the oil, and then put them down into the shocks. This is why they said to tape it, because you end up picking it up like this to really get some grip onto the screws. We do the same thing on this other one, then I'll take that tape back off. Just to make sure, can you guys hear me okay over the air conditioner? Because it is hot in this room right now. So I've got a portable AC running, and for me, it's really loud. I'm just hoping it's not too loud for you guys. Cool. Thanks, Donnie. Okay. Get rid of this tape. So now it will not come out. The screws are all, actually this one's not tightened all the way down, just a hair. Double check this one. So now the sway bar, or this bar will not come loose, and it's got some spring to it. So just turn it over, identify the limiting pads. And there's a left and a right to these limiting pads. Or no, they're the same. Identify positions. Okay, it's saying to identify the positions, and that's what these bars sticking out on the front are for. The limiting pad. I'm going to put one in place to show you. There's a pin on the back screw hole, and the pin goes into one of the holes here. The screw goes into the other side, and what it does is it keeps this from going any further down than that. All right, thanks, GB. Appreciate it. 2 FM screws. Dip them in the oil. Let's see. That one looks, yeah, that one's threaded in. Let me get the other one threaded in. That one's in there. Now, it's threaded into the, it's not threaded into the bottom part. It is just threaded into the paint on the pad itself. That one's, now it's locked in there. I don't know if you guys hear that in the background. Wife just came down. The dogs are, one of the dogs is being noisy. Speaking of which, I may have to go for a few minutes because we have a gas griddle and we just got gas. We did not hook it up yet. If Andrea says that I need asking for my help, I will go out there really quick and hook up the gas bottle. So now this will not go any further down, and it still flexes. And now, where did I put it? So this arm here from yesterday goes on here. Oh, sorry. Let me get this out of the way because it does not go on here yet. It goes on the chassis part that I worked on yesterday. Onto here, using an LM screw, and that pad has to be facing that way so that the pin here is up. It's going to go on here like so. Needs a little bit of work because of the paint. And then an LM screw. Which also, just like the OM screw has a flange on it to hold the part in place. I am about ready to take the supplied screwdrivers and put them away. I should actually, because the magnetic in them is not as good as it is on other screwdrivers that I have. Sorry you can't see. I'm just putting the screw into the part. Actually, that's the bigger one of them. That's on there like that, and it has room to flex. So now, loading orientation, this is now going to slide in to the frame. Let me see. Okay, so this, Now, I was talking about yesterday how these screw holes are going to be facing the chassis of the bus, and they will, because this goes in here like this. This arm, move it a little bit so that I can get it past there. This arm is going to attach there, and these are going to go. Just looking. Okay, there we go. There's a pin and a screw hole on both of these, on both sides of the that chassis, and there's a pin and a screw hole on both sides. You can't. There's the screw hole. And there's the pin hole. And this is going to line up right there. So let me get this in here like that. And that should, and these also on the other end here, there's a, underneath here, there's a pin 2 holes for screws, and that actually lines everything up like that. So a bunch of screws are going to go in. So on the end here, it says FM screws. You know, before fighting, like continuing to fight with the lowered magnetism on those screws, let me find the right one. I'm getting out my screwdriver set. I need 2 FM screws. One FM screw goes into each of the holes here. I'm going to dip them in oil and get them started. Then I'm going to come back and tighten them up. That one's started. Let me get this other one started in here. Should be able to pick this up now that that one is in. Fell out of the screw. Actually, I need the extension because it's getting the handle is getting in the way to thread the screw in. So let's try this again. This is just a little bit narrower. Let me use the little screwdriver because that's otherwise I'm going to end up cross-threading this thing. Okay, that's got that in there. Now let me tighten both of them down. Now, yeah, you guys probably saw that I almost flipped the screws over, the rest of them. That would really suck. We use the small one. This one. And you can see there's a lot of play right now, and which is good. It's going to need play because it's actually shock absorbers on the bus. So one of the things about these models I really like is that if there's a shock absorber on these models, like the Ghostbuster car, the shocks work on it. The DeLorean, the shocks work on it. If they're shock absorbers, they really work. They not really work like the shock absorbers would, but they are the springs work on them. Don't want to tighten that one up anymore. I think it might be a little bit stripped. So there's that. And then right here, see if I can get it to where you can see, maybe. So underneath there, there's 2 screw holes and a hole for the pin. Get it down on there. Goes on there like so. 2 more FM screws. Make sure I put the dip in the oil. Right there. And I can actually get rid of this extension now. Another one right there. That's tight. That's tight. And what that does is it keeps the body, the chassis pretty much tied together when it flexes. What is that part called? I forget. Let me see. Oh, the trailing arm. Okay, and then 2 times GM. So down here on the other end of the chassis, where this attaches, I need 4 GMs. I believe, yeah, the FM screw actually dropped in there, so I've got 4 there. And oil. And start away from me and work my way across. And I'm only going to get them threaded in initially. And it's funny because before I started this kit, I knew how many screws were in it. I also know how many of the screws on the Terminator loosened throughout the build. So I bought Loctite. Haven't used it yet, but I have started using oil, which I haven't used on any builds prior to this. And I have to say that it is really fantastic how well the oil helps. You guys heard the beep. Donnie just said something about the intros and outros that Todd put together for HTM, Hobbytime Modelers. Speaking of which, if you are interested, look up Hobbytime Modelers on Facebook and YouTube. Eric and I were the founders, but it's now Eric, myself, Todd, Donnie Dougherty, and Mark Schumann are running basically our own hobby or modeling Facebook and YouTube. All of us have access to use StreamYard like I am right now. So, no, it's worth a look, I think. So now the rear chassis is finished. Just like that. You can see shocks work really well. And there will actually, I'm sure, by the end of the build, start to be some sag on here because this thing is going to weigh a ton. So next one is connecting the chassis frames. This is where the bus gets too big to fit. Move some stuff around so I can put the screws up there. I just moved the camera in front of me, so when I go back on the camera showing me, it may not be pointing me directly out. See if I can get this out of the bag. Close that so I don't spill it. It's not liquid tight. It won't stop it from spilling if I knock it over, but I can keep it from getting on things as I'm working. So let me move this over. So I've got some GM screws, some MM screws. Front chassis and the chassis frame link. Or this is the front chassis frame. Okay, take the rear chassis frame assembly from previous stage. Identify the 4 screw holes. These right here. Identify the same screw holes on here. These 4 right here. So this is going to sit on here just like that. Line it with the fixed together with GM screws. Let me get the screws out. I actually am reading instructions, guys. There's a little bit more to this one than just look at the pictures. The screws in there. I need 4 GMs to tie this together. There's 4 GMs plus a spare. There's a note. Chassis frame length the right way. Okay. It's a note for the next step. Oil back. Pump a little bit more up. Let me just get this one. I'm going to thread the outer 2 in first. That was started. That one started. Get the other 2 in, and then I'll tighten everything up. I have to say, Todd was really, really helpful by posting a link to this little jar here. It is great for using the 3-in-1 oil for getting it to getting it somewhere where I can use it on the screws. So let me tighten these screws down. You can see they're still loose because it keeps flexing there in the middle, but now that one is in, it does not. By the way, I think that speaking of Todd, his first ever stream yesterday, he went 3 hours, and it was actually very entertaining. I watched quite a bit. I asked plenty of questions. It's well worth a look. Okay. So those 4 screws are tight. Frame is solid. It says check the orientation of the frame. Okay, turn the chassis over and check the orientation of the frame link. Make sure it's right way up, correct orientation. When the screw holes are visible, the pin right here has got to be down. There's also recesses. Todd just said, yay, streaming. It is a lot of fun. So there's recesses here. There's a pin here. These recesses are going to fit on these slight raised areas. And then there's recesses on the backside for the screws to fit into here. Pin goes into this hole here. This is actually, I believe, this is a plastic part. You can hear the difference. Plastic, metal. So in there like that, and then 2 screws. I don't think the plastic part is all that important because these screws are actually going down in through both halves of the frame. I think the plastic part is more just to cover it up, make it look a little bit better because it actually lines it up really well with the frame on either end. I actually didn't bring enough parts. I brought the next two stages, which are wheels, but that's okay because the parts are here in the shop, not very far away. I think the next 4 stages are all going to be wheels. Yeah, that's the end of stage 17, which stage 17 was attaching the front and rear chassis, this plastic part here, and you can see how it does line up there. Lines up with the bottom of the frame, and then the 4 screws here. Now I got to figure out a place because my shop is a mess. I got to figure out a place where I can set it while I bring over the wheels. My shop is a mess. I've got the Queen Mary 2 next to me with lots of parts laying in front of it. Been working on the little Nelly from You Only Died or You Only Live Twice. So, got to be careful I don't throw parts from that all over the place. Todd is putting the Enterprise D neck on the star drive to see it all light up. That is very cool, Todd. And so, first of the rear wheels. Interestingly enough, there are no screws in this pack. Oh, there. Interesting. There are 2 IM screws. Well, there's your problem. Let me set this over here because actually, that's pack 19. That's pack 18. You got the tire, the wheel rim cover, and the outer wheel rim. So let me take the parts out. First thing I'm going to have to do is heat up the part. This is going to go, let me double check. Okay, this just sits off to the side for right now. I've got to heat it up to put the wheel into the tire. So I will be right back. I'm just going to cross the room. Matter of fact, I'm going to kill the AC so that you can still hear me when I'm over there. And let me heat this up with a hairdryer. Heating up with the hairdryer while sorry, I realized as soon as I turned on the hairdryer that you guys probably couldn't hear me, so I stopped talking. But heating it up with the hairdryer so that it is hot and warm enough to get the tire in, not warm enough to actually melt it. There are 2 methods to do that. You can either put them in boiling water or heat up heat them up with a heat gun, and that was not long enough. I'll be right back, guys. The key is I'm trying not to mar the tire while I'm putting the wheel in. Agora suggests in the books to use the air gun so you don't end up with water inside the wheel. Come on. Very close. So there's that. It's in on the other side as well. And that's all there is to do in stage 18. Stage 19 has the IM screws. Put them away. So we've got, wow, I never noticed that. That is really impressive detail. Right there, inside the tire, is actually the filler. It's the stem that you fill the tire through. That I did not. You can see it right there against the blue of the towel. Did not see that before. That is actually really impressive. I saw that one. I was like, really? That was very cool. So we got the tire. We've got the wheel. I believe that is the brake. Yes, that's the brake disc. And that little washer is what is going to hold it to the bus. It goes down inside of, not sure which one of these. Probably goes down inside of, let me see. Because these are going to go on like that. It's going to go down inside of this one. I'm guessing what's going to happen is this one goes to the side for right now. Interesting that the filler valves for the tires actually line up together if you do it that way. Right there you see one, and there's the other one in the same spot. Okay, so let me go heat this tire up so I can get the wheel into it. The fun part with this is I'm trying to heat the tire up without heating my fingers up too much. So let me get this pushed in here. And other models, I've got two other cars that I've worked on. I've got the DeLorean and I've got the Ghostbuster car. They do not, the tires do not go together like this. There's nothing that actually goes down inside the rubber. I don't know if this is going to be hard. Okay, there it goes. Close. Just got to get it pulled across here. It's the back side is good. It's the front side there. Almost. There we go. And that's on there. And the heating is keeping it from marring it. I'm willing to bet I could probably do it without putting the heat on it, but I'm not going to try it. So now I take the two assembled tires. Three fixing points. Correctly aligned. Fixed. Yeah, it doesn't say. I'm going to put those filler valves not in line with each other because I don't want something to inadvertently knock them off. So this one gets set. You set this one down. Actually, looking at it, they have to be lined up because there is only one way that these things will go together. If you look, these two are further down a little bit. So they have to actually go that direction, that way, so that the filler valves are together. I set that down like that. Those were GM screws. So 3 GM screws. Open the oil. Dip the screw in the oil and put the screw down in. Again, before I tighten all of them down, I'm going to get them all threaded in. And if I was only going to do 4, I would be done. But I'm actually going to go ahead and press on. I'm going to do my 2 hours like I normally do. I'm going to be ending half hour before I would normally start, but that's how things go. I actually like this. I've said before, I like doing it a little bit earlier. It gives me more of the evening. I was contemplating playing a game earlier, and I realized that I still had to stream tonight. And that's the wheels. Firmly joined together. So now, get this stuff all out of the way. Set these pieces over where I can find them. And bring the chassis back over. It says study this diagram, make sure you have the wheels the right way around. So the disc, the brake disc, right here, and I'm going to put the pour marks on the inside. Brake disc goes on here. There's a keyway. There's a keyway here on the top of the axle, or a key on the top of the axle. The keyway is on the disc, so it's going to go on there just like that. And it's, like I said, it says to study it. I've already looked at it. This side is going to go towards the bus. This side is towards us. So it's going to go on here, just like that. The washer is going to drop in here, and it dropped in flat, which is perfect. And then the IM screw, just one, don't need two. IM screw gets dipped in oil, goes down through that washer into the hub or into the axle. The axle doesn't actually turn, the wheel turns around the axle. And I'm going to lose it just a hair. They say in the instructions to leave it to where it's freewheeling, but on the other hand, just, enough to turn is good. Not like I'm going to be playing race car with it. And then the wheel rim cover, unlike the front, has no logo on it yet. Might have one later. Or hubcap, actually, is just pushed on there. Make sure it sounds like it's supposed to actually pop in. Yeah, it's a little bit snug in there. I think that's going to stay. Just about to put it down. Got one tire or one set of rear tires on the bus. Offside. And for, we get stage 20. That will finish off this book. I'll get stage 21, probably 22 as well. Actually, I can agree with that, Todd. I may pop my caps off. They're not on there very hard. And actually, I'm going to grab 20, 21, 22, and 23. No guarantee I will get that far, but these tires shouldn't take that long. So 20 and 21 are exactly the same as 18 and 19. I'm going to get all the parts out right now. And actually, what I want to ask you guys that are watching, because you can actually see what details are going to be there. There's some more GM screws, some more IM screws. I can set the washer and the brake disc aside. So I see that I have two people, according to what it shows on the StreamYard screen, watching. So I'm going to ask GB, because I already know what Todd thinks. What do you think? That way or that way? I think I agree with Todd. I like that way better. Okay, so let me go and heat the first wheel up. Actually, the first wheel I believe goes on here. Heat up the first wheel, and then I'll come back, put it on, and heat up the second wheel. And this time, instead of trying to heat up the whole wheel, because you actually push in one side and it can be cold, I only heated up one side because that's the side I need to get the rest of the tire through, or the rest of the wheel through. And it is being a pain in the tuchus. Okay, come on. There we go. Felt like it might have pushed out the other side, but it did not. All right, thanks, GB. Appreciate it. I think I'm going to pop that other one off. Maybe not right now, but I will get that other one off. And I'm going to just leave this one in the spare parts box. So let me heat this tire up. The reason I don't have the heat gun, hair dryer, whatever you want to call it, because it is actually just a hair dryer. The reason it's not over here is because I don't have enough plugs. I have so many things plugged in over here. So it's actually over by the paint booth on the other side of the shop. What I need to do sometime is clean it up and do a shop update, because it's been a good year and a half since I showed what the shop looks like. It hasn't changed a whole lot. It just gets rearranged every now and then. So there's the other tire. Let me see. Should probably look at the instructions or not. I do need to switch books. I've just finished the pack 2 when I finished the first tire. Now I'm into pack 3, and pack 8 is actually on its way. Okay, so exact same thing as before. Line up these lugs, these posts, put the screws in. Interesting. Let me see. Just because when I lined them up this time, the those screws are actually, they look like they're offset from each other to where you have to put them on a specific way, but they're not. So I put them on the same way I did the other two, with the valves, the filler valves in the facing each other. So that's an IM screw to attach it to the bus itself. You get 3 GMs out. And let's start putting the tires together, or the wheels. Again, I'm going to just get them threaded on each spot. And I don't know who just popped up, but I happened to look up and saw that I now have 4 people watching. Welcome to the stream. Had 4, now 3. Happens. I can actually see how many people are watching on the screen for StreamYard, but I can't see who you are unless you talk. I like the way that they do these. I mean, I do my modeling the same way. Tighten these down. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, like these screws on the wheels, they put them on the back side so that the part you see is this. You see this side rather than this side, so the screws are hidden. I think that is really, really cool the way they do that. Set these screws out of the way. Let's see, put that. Threw it in the box. It bounced off of a part and went on the other side. Well, before I do that, there. Put that in the box. Set this on here. Oops, wait. Again, there's a key here. Keyway on the disc brake disc. Going to put the mold marks on the back, and they're actually positioned perfectly to where if you put them on the back side, you cannot see them at all because this piece of the frame right here. Put the wheel assembly on here. Drop in the washer. Get the screw. Dip it in the oil. And put the screw in. The one thing I just realized, I like the more details. What I wish they would do is provide a hubcap. You know, other than that big hubcap, because that's how the wheel looks. You can still see the screw. A hubcap, something like they did on the front, would be cool. But if they don't, not a big deal. And I just saw right here, that hole is actually partially covered over with paint. Screw's going to go through there eventually. Very interesting. That one's partially covered over. These other ones are completely. Working on the Trumper 1/48 Meg 27 flogger. Kit goes together okay, but the instructions are awful. Wrong part numbers and paint diagram callouts that don't match. I tell you what, GB, that's a lot like the Airfix Little Nelly that I'm working on. It has part number callouts, and there is not a part number on this sprue at all. As I said on the Friday stream to Mark when he was on, it's an Airfix kit, or not an Airfix kit, it's an AMC kit, because and he knew exactly what I was talking about, because there are no part numbers on AMT kits either on the sprue. Now what I might do, just take a look. Now that's, if I was going to do that, I would have to do some cutting, a lot of cutting. What I might do eventually is cut this out, cut this post off a little bit to where just this detail part that part right there would be covering up the hub where the screw is. Okay, assembling the drive unit. I think that would be the motor. Since I changed PDFs, it maxed out again. Get that out of the way. Stage 22. Donnie might get the Enterprise back sooner than he expects, because if I run, if the Routemaster goes together as fast as it looks like it might, I might run out of parts and then have to go back to do the Enterprise. I will, like I said earlier, I will be bringing the Enterprise back. In this pack, they actually, make sure there's nothing left in there, actually give you a pair of tweezers. Pretty close to the ones I already have. Actually, that's my pointed ones. I have 3 pairs of tweezers over to the right of me. I'm just not sure where they all are. HP and DP. Well, that's interesting. Go from EP to HP screws. No F or G. So let me line up parts so I know what I'm looking at. These both look, okay. There's the pulley, belt for the pulley, another pulley wheel here, 2 parts to it. Brake pump. Compressor cooling fins. Pipe. Drive unit housing. Cap. Bracket. Some of these names are just amazing. 2 brake line connectors, brake line, and screws. So let me take a look really quick before I start having the. Now I'll press on. I can just leave the HP screws in the bag. I'll put the DP into their slot. By the time I work on this again, I will have to find a new screw box. And what it'll probably be is I'll have this plus another one, and I just dropped that screw in the EP screws. Yeah, see, this is supposed to be a magnetized screwdriver. Okay. 22L and M are the same. Okay, these are exactly the same. And so it says fit the pulley, the stem with pulley. Let's say fit this stem part, pulley part into 22 into the hole, and center of pulley part 22E to form the pulley wheel. Okay. Basically put these parts together. There's a key right here, a keyway right here. So where once it's together, it looks like a single part. All right, Donnie, talk to you later. I'll still be on for another 45-ish minutes. And then on the housing, there's a keyway here, or there's a key here, keyway here. So unlike some other builds, I believe the DeLorean and the Ecto both have pulleys that can turn. These pulleys are going to be solid. Let me get a DP screw that will not go into oil because it is going into plastic. Put it through the back here into the hole in the back of the pulley assembly, which I didn't show. Sorry, guys. Tighten it down snug. There's the screw, there's the keyway, and now the pulleys are assembled to the power housing. Brake pump here, which has, again, it has a key. Silver parts don't let, it doesn't want to focus because of the silver parts. Let me see if I can get it to focus because of the white background. You can see there, it's fuzzy, but there's the key. And there's a keyway on the housing itself. So it'll go on there like that. And then another DP screw will come in. I got two this time. Leave one on the towel. Try this, get this on here. It fell off because when I set it down. And again, no oil on here. It doesn't want to stay. This is the time you need a third hand. Tighten the screw in there. So now you've got the brake pump, and the brake pump is actually going to be run by that belt. The screw on the back here. And then the second pulley. I'm just looking. So this flat-faced part is going to go to the outside. On the inside is raised. And that might, no, it does not. Odd that it does not. Because this actually can turn. This part can actually turn. These parts do not actually lock together like the rest of the other ones do. But they do. Okay, that. I'm sitting here trying to figure out why is it not going to lock itself together. It's because it actually sits on a post. And so screw hole in the end of the post. Put the DP screw through. And I'm going to tighten it all the way down, not concerned whether the pulley can turn or not, which once it's tight, it will not turn. So screw hole there. Just saw that there's a D, that hole is D-shaped, so something obviously is going to go in there. Next part that goes on to these two pins here, and that is the cap. And I believe, yes, it is a push-fit connection. Two holes for the pins to go into. Looks like the pins are both the same size, so I don't think it matters which way it goes on there. Ow. There is a pin on the end of this thing here. So you got to push from the sides, not the center. I pushed from the center, and that hurt. So you see the opposite end of the socket for the cooling fins. Here, the cooling fins go on here. There's a keyway. There's a pin with a key on it. It will go into that keyway, and actually you can see the shape of the plastic is so that it looks like it's just coming out of there naturally. And it is a push fit connection. Goes on there just like that. Pipe is the same way. There's a relatively small pin on there with a key on it. There's a keyway on the hole. And so the pipe will go actually pointing up towards the fins. And again, push fit connection. These are parts that could be glued, but they're actually pretty snug. And then take the drive belt and identify. It says to identify the channels. Channel on the pulley is pretty obvious. Channel on the other pulley, and then on the brake pump itself, channels right there. Pull what is basically a black rubber band over top. Twisted it when I put it on there. So I'm going to go with the large side first. Put it on the brake pump. And perfect. It is not twisted at all. And then this bracket and these two brake line connectors all go together on one spot. You get an HP screw out. If I wasn't live streaming this, I would find a way to put the picture on the screen. I may eventually figure out a way to do that as well, because it's really pretty complicated the way this goes on here. So this smaller, the shorter arm near the pin is not used. This is where the brake cylinders are going to go. And looking at it, they are stacked together. Hang on just a second before I can do that. Before I can put that together, I need to remove a little bit of flash, otherwise it's not going to fit together. The nub from when they took it off the sprue is there. I don't want to go too far on the flash because this is a painted part. I don't have the, which I just saw the gray plastic. I don't want the gray plastic to show. So this goes on. These go together like this. And then that gap in the center is where this arm is going to go. And the screw starts in on the front side here. So I'm going to gently, if I can get it to go through there. This is another one of them times when you need more hands than you have. Let me see if I can get this one to go onto the screw. Screw went too far. Pull this back just a hair. Okay, I've got the hole available, or the slot. And of course, the threading is going to be in the middle of the bracket. So somehow I've got to get this to line up with the hole while I'm threading, or while I'm screwing it in there. I think, maybe. Just like that. So you can see it's out of focus, but you can see how the two connections are over top of the brace there. Let me see, how does this, I'm just making sure it looks somewhat like the picture. Okay. And it says to make sure that these look the same as the picture, which it does, before proceeding. Fit the hose here onto this one, the one that's away from the pin on the smaller arm, next to the smaller arm. Like I said yesterday, these go on really easy, these pipes, much easier than they do on some other builds. Like I said, and it goes, this one goes away, the pin, the hose is connected away from this pin. And actually that is the finished part. So let me set that there, get that out of the way. And get out part 23. I think the scissors work a little bit better to open these bags. That's because I haven't changed the blade on my scalpel in a long time. It is very dull. So header, tank assembly, and rod for the brake system. We have some CM screws, some more DP screws, and some FP screws. There's the FP screws. We're going to leave them in the bag just like we did the HP screws. DPs into their slot. The CMs will go into theirs. The CMs and DPs, if I remember right, are the same size screws. Just one is machine cut, and the other one is sharper to cut the threads into the plastic. So let me, like I did before, lay the parts out. 23A is another connector. These are the hydraulic fluid header tank parts. Get these out of here as well. Actually, I'm going to leave them in the plastic, but this is a brake line. E and F. So this is the accumulators, F. This here is a bracket. 3G is a rod, 2 prop shafts, and then screws. And I believe these prop shafts will probably come from the engine somehow to run this to make the brakes work. I just realized something. The blue towel, I was talking to Todd about this yesterday. This blue towel actually is perfect for my builds because when I put this on, my camera gets really irritated. I'm willing to bet the black cutting mat would work really well too. Oh yay! I got all these parts here. Move these out of the way because I got to bring the chassis back over, which means I need to put these where I'm gonna. Sorry, squirrel. I thought this felt like it was flexible. It's not really. But I've got to put parts out of the way of the chassis because that thing is a monster now. So it goes. Oof! Good God! This thing only weighs about 8 to 10 pounds now. So it goes on there like that. Brake accumulators. And it says work from the upper side of the chassis, which this is the upper side. Wheels are incorrectly got some spring to them. Check the orientation, make sure that these are, so the accumulator, the longer one is going to be on the bottom. Slides on here like so. Using 2 cm screws, the inset shows the accumulator is correct. Yeah, okay. Like I said, guys, I'm actually reading the instructions on this one. That's a first for me. Got 2 cm screws, put that extra one back, put the oil on the screws. Get one started, and let me get the other one started. And again, if you look, the screws are facing towards the bottom of the bus. You'll never see these screws again once the floor is put on the bus. Feels almost like the metal is stripped out, but should be good. Actually, that accumulator is actually metal, and it is still a little bit loose. I was worried about breaking the plastic, and since it's metal, not plastic, that's not a worry. So I can actually tighten these all the way down. And now there's no play on them. Turn chassis over, identify 2 fixing points in the frame. So turn the chassis over, move it up a little bit so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. And it says to identify the 2 fixing points on the frame for this bracket. This is plastic. This bracket here, it goes on these 2 points here. It's going to go on here like that. And it's going to use 2 more cm screws. Even though the part is plastic, the chassis is metal. I dropped one in the center. Chassis is still metal, so even though it's going through plastic, it will be using a metal screw. So dip it in oil first. That one's tight. Well, it feels tight, obviously, because the part just moves so much. Plenty of room to still go further. Put the top one in. These screws will be visible from the bottom of the bus. I don't plan on picking up the bus and turning it over to look at screws very often. Make sure they're good. Use what I call the fingernail method. Check that I can't get my fingernail underneath them. And these smaller points on the front are on the front of the part. It says take these two parts, which are the cylinder or the reservoir halves. And you can see you've got posts in here, or lugs with screw holes. You've got the posts here that go into the lugs, just pushes together like that. And then 2 DP screws will go in from that side. There's one. And the second one. Again, I'm getting them both started before I tighten it all the way down. This actually comes very close to making me use the other screwdriver, because that's how close the end of the bit, the hexagonal part, comes to scratching the sides of the screw hole. Once that's on there, there's 2 brackets here. Turn the frame back over. And those brackets, these 2 brackets here with screw holes pointing towards the bottom of the bus, are going to go right there, like this. But it's not going to hold until I put screws in. And those are going to be 2 more CM screws. Of course, it would be good if I got CM instead of the DP. There's 2 of the CM screws. Get some oil. Hold this up. Hopefully you guys can still see. First one's threaded. The second one one's threaded. Tighten them both down. Interesting that there's a hole right here. Hopefully a screw does not go into that, because that's going to be really hard to reach. Move the FP screws back over here so I don't misplace them. Way back. No, the screws go through the eyelets. So the tank in place. So it doesn't say on the underside of the chassis frame, identify a fixing point for 13I, which was right here. Actually, it was over here. Slot in the end of the connector, overhead eyelet. Note the larger eyelet uppermost as you work. They've actually got it. Yeah. That is where this part goes. And the larger part showed this several times yesterday. Smooth side, slightly larger side, that's the part that the screw goes through, and a DP screw will go through there. Goes onto this bracket right here. Let me double check. Yeah, it goes on this one. There's another spot. There's another one right here. This is where this one is supposed to go right now. And these brackets are not exactly the way these are actually done. These T-fittings would be actual T-fittings, not parts that are put together with screws like this. So I'm going to tighten that down. It's through the bottom, holding apart. So this thing identify the control levers with brake line, test fit 23G across subframe to ensure correct orientation fits between the control levers. And it goes underneath this brake. Okay. So this part here, and it's similar to the others. Both sides are rounded and they have larger side on the other side. It goes between the spot that I was just talking about, this one right, between this one right here, and there's another one. There is where I'm talking about when screws loosen up. Better. This is going to be interesting to say the least. There we go. I was looking at how I was going to get this a screw through this arm, little arm right here. Make sure this is tight. It's a little bit loose. So on this side, it goes underneath the brake cylinder that's already there. On this side, it's going to go on here like that. This has got to go further over. So it's going to go on there just like that. It's going to go a screw here and a screw here, and those are going to be the FP screws. So FP screws are really, really tiny. I need the other screwdriver. Still need to use, I'm still using the kit supplied because I have a larger head on the screwdriver that I've got right now. Get the bag closed, put it in here. And I'll show you. These are very, very tiny screws. Put them both down there. And there's a spare, just like always with these, since we're going plastic. Very, very. It's on there, but it's not going through yet. I need to be very gentle. I don't want to snap the parts. These are details that they add. It looks cool on the bottom of the model. Very rarely will you ever see it. Very gently tightening this up. That's snug. I'm not going to go any further than that. I don't want to snap parts. So let me get this one on here. Do the same thing. Make sure I need to move this one over just a hair. Trying to make sure I've got the hole available. That should be better. Forgot this is one solid piece. It's a T-shaped piece. So when I move this part, when I move this, it moved the hole further over to where I could actually get to it. Let me grab it here. Just push that, like that. That should be good. And what this line here, but what this brake line here would do is it would take, looks like this is where the brakes would come in. Pressure is going to come in here, get split, go this way, go across here, and go this way. And then this brake line has the end here, pin here, and an end here that it's gonna go into things. That's how that goes in there. Okay, never mind. This hole that I identified so it looked like a screw hole, this is where this first part is gonna go. The pin should go, just looking. This goes in from the bottom. Make sure you get it the right way. Fit one end of the socket. The tank, fit the pin in the hole, part 17A. It says to use a piece of masking tape to hold it in place temporarily. So it's going to go in here. Actually, you know what? I'm trying to put it in backwards. That's better. It's going to go in here like this. And probably easier to fit the pin first. Not even positive I'm going to be able to get it through that hole. Actually, there. It popped out. Let me just put it up on its side where I can actually see it. Take the rubber sleeve or the plastic sleeve off of there. push that down, and it is friction fit. It is actually going into the tank. The pin is here, and that's why they say to use a piece of masking tape. Instead of using a big piece of masking tape, I'm going to use a piece of washi tape that I've got here. Cut that. Try not to have to tape the tape to itself, and just tape it right there to where it's going to stay. And then these axle parts are not yet used. And I'm sure they eventually go through. Yeah, it's going to go right through here. So let me put them back in here. Let me make sure. So yeah, I put it back in the wrong order. Or no, there we go. So let me turn this over. Got the brake line there. A bit more of the brake system right here. Finish this up. Brought this over, but did not need it yet. So that's where the bus is now. Let me see something just because I enjoy doing this stuff. I enjoy fitting these parts on if I can figure out where they go. And it's just based on how high the wheels are. There's still a bit to go because it's not even sitting down on the chassis yet. So I'm going to call that a stream. Had a lot of fun with it. Very enjoyable. This is actually a very relaxing build. Some of them can be very stressful. Where is my mouse? There it is. Let me switch cameras a little bit real quick. Holy cow. Very cool. I'm brand new to some of the stuff on StreamYards. They're actually updating it quite regularly. They just changed how much it'll record. You can record up to 50 hours on a paid account. So Routemaster is coming along. Like I said, I'm enjoying this build. It's a very relaxing build. I appreciate you guys stopping in. I appreciate you guys showing up for a impromptu early stream. Might do something this weekend, probably not. We'll do Fridays, the Friday stream with HTM. Speaking of which, go over to HTM, take a look. I need to get everybody in HTM into my description for all my videos so you guys know who we are and who they subscribe to. We're having a lot of fun with this, and I think we're gonna grow a pretty good channel. So appreciate you stopping by. Like and subscribe if you like this content. I hope you do, and stop by this coming Friday at 8 p.m. Central. We'll be streaming. Should be at least I'm going to be on. Hopefully, we'll have 5 or 6 people in total, maybe only 4. So I will catch you later, and I want to say to all of my American friends, have a great Independence Day. Hope you've had a great day. Hope you've had a safe day and did some celebrating of our the nation's 246th birthday. Folks overseas, have a great day. Overseas from me, folks, obviously. Have a great day. Have a great tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. All of you take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you next time.